Hi everybody, it's Glenn here, Zooplankton on Cruise Critic, and I thought I'd show you a little bit about using these Google Maps that I've been sharing. So I'm going to click on this one down here at the bottom, Rome to Dubai, and it should open up a copy of the map. Fortunately, it opens it up right in My Maps. This is the default view. I'm going to go through a bunch of things. I'm going to go through how to zoom in and out, how to scroll through the list on the left there, how to do just a little bit about the layers. You can do up to 10 layers, hovering over things so they show up, looking at some of the site details, adding a location, adding a location in the wrong layer, changing the icon, changing the color of the icon, measuring distance between places, drawing a path on the map, drawing an area on the map, making that area transparent so it doesn't obliterate the map, getting directions in a layer on a map. I don't use that much, but I'll show you, and then changing the background so you can see satellite view. So let's kick it off. We're in My Maps, zooming in and out, a couple different ways to do it. If you've got a scroll mouse, you can scroll in and out. Bottom right here where you see the pointer hovering, that's plus and minus, right? So you can just go in and out there. You can double click on the map and it'll zoom in and out. If you've got a touchpad like I have on my Mac, you can do the squeeze like you do on a smart device and zoom in and out like that. These are little controls up here, so if I'm using the hand control right now, so I can click and hold with my left mouse button. I'm using a trackpad, but same thing on the mouse, and you can drag it around. Now you see I've got a whole bunch of locations on here. And right now we're showing a layer for Rome. We're not actually looking at Rome right now. But I can grab the scroll bar here with left click again, and I can drag that down. You can see we've got Naples, and then Sicily, and Santorini, Rhodes, Aqaba, Abu Dhabi, didn't say that right, and Dubai. So right now I think we're looking at Dubai. So each of the layers has this little checkbox here, and if you uncheck it, everything that is recorded in that layer disappears. What's interesting is you'll notice I've got the ports apparently in the wrong layer somehow. I may have added them twice. So I've got those ports actually in Abu Dhabi right now instead of Dubai. So I wasn't planning to do that, but let's go grab those. So we'll zoom in on where those are here. I'll click on one of them. And it highlights it over here. It's a light gray, so it's hard to tell that it highlighted it here. And you can click and hold on it, and you can drag it around in the list. So I can just drag it down to Dubai here, drop it there. I can grab the other one. Cruise Terminal 2, also showing in Abu Dhabi, and we'll drag it down to Dubai. So there we go. Okay, what else did I have here? So I talked about if I have a location on here, I can hover over it, and you'll notice on the left-hand side there, Jumeirah, don't know how to say that, mosque is highlighted just slightly. If I go off of it, it goes away. And the same thing if I hover over the list, I'm trying to find something. Say I want to find Old Town. If I hover over it, if Old Town is on this portion of the map, it'll highlight. I don't see it highlighting. If I click on Old Town once, there we go, it was off the map, it moves down to it. And it shows the ability to edit it. Now, this also shows details, which I don't have any in here for Old Town. But I can say, not sure. Is here, oops. So in a few of them I've added a bit of extra detail, even the links and whatnot. So I can save that, and now Old Town will show up with that extra note on it whenever you click on the icon, or double click on the icon, this will pop up as well. So if I hadn't looked it up in the list and clicked there, I can double click on any of the icons and the details show up. So the next thing is, let's say I was trying to figure out more about Old Town. And I know there's some limitations in this map compared to Google Maps. For example, in the right hand, in the bottom right hand there, you don't have Google Street View. But one of the things on this detailed list for the site, you can say view in Google Maps. So it'll open up a new window in Google Maps. Now I'm viewing it in Google Maps. So I get a little bit of preview up on the left here. I can click the satellite really easily here to look at it. But what I like is that I can go to Street View. And I can, now it shows me all the places where I can do Street View, all the places where panoramic photos have been taken. So then I can go into here. This looks like a popular area. I can drop myself in there and have a look. And these are typically 360-degree views in Street View. So sometimes that helps in having a look at a place and seeing whether you really want to do something there or not. Or in other cases, you may want to have a look at, I'm just trying to think of somewhere here that might be interesting. Okay, let's say we're wanting to have a look at, what does this restaurant look like, or what does the entrance look like? How do I get there? So now I'm on the street. You can kind of see what things look like when I get there. And I can move up a little bit on the street. This is just Street View stuff, not so much for the maps, but it's kind of handy sometimes. All right, so that's that. Let's get out of that Street View. I could pick another spot on Street View to look at, but I'm not going to bother right now. So I'll go back to the map, and we'll close this. So let's say I wanted to add a location. Maybe this park here is interesting. So I can bring it up. I just have to click on Add to Map. Now, by default, it uses this icon here, the blue coloring, and I've already added it to the layer that I was looking at. Much like I showed you with the port, if you're not careful, you can put it in the wrong layer. Notice it's bolded right now too because it is selected on the map. But I can also grab this and move it to another layer if I needed to. But let's say, I'll just cancel that. So I haven't saved it to the map yet. You'll notice the layer that's selected is blue on the left-hand side here. And I'm going to go back over here. So each time I pick a layer, it highlights in blue. I'm going to go back into that layer. Zoom out a little bit. Let's pick this spot as one we're adding. Okay, so I have a choice of adding that to the map. Now when it comes up, I can hit the pencil and I can edit the description. Interestingly, in this Arabic language, it seems to delete from the wrong end when you do it. I don't know. Especially when some of these were Arabic and a regular alphabet. Deleting was kind of weird on this line. That seems to, I think because they read right to left or something. Anyway, I can add my own description. I can add my own text description there. I can save it. So now it's saved down here, but it's the default icon. You can change the color here. I've been using the purple because it shows up nicely on a lot of the map backgrounds. But you can also change the icon. So some of my most popular icons show up here. And then icons I've recently used show up here. For example, this one here is like a fountain. What else have I got? A shopping bag for shopping. So you can just kind of give yourself a quick visual. I've been using the M's for metro stations. I also got the bus stations or train stations with this one. Any of the castles or impressive buildings, I've been using the little castle icon. Beaches, I've been using the umbrella. So it's just kind of a quick way of having a visual reminder as you scroll through. I've been using this bird icon up here as for anything that's to do with animals or birds or whatever. And then when you leave it, that is stored, and you'll notice the description is now the beach, which is the last thing that I clicked on, and it's purple. If you want to get rid of it, you just got to hit the trash can there, and it's gone. So let's see, I did change icon, change color. Oh yeah, measuring distance. Sometimes, okay, well we might want to stay at a hotel down here somewhere. So let's say there's the Meadows. For some reason, I might want to have a look at how far that is from the metro station. So this little ruler up here is a measuring stick. So I can go, okay, I want to start here, and I want to go there. So it's 1.22 kilometers. My Google Maps is defaulted to kilometers. You can change your defaults on that. I don't recall how offhand, so I'll leave that to you. You can Google it. Now, if you want to get more precise because you're walking there, you might want to do it in little segments and actually follow what you think the walking path is going to be to get there. Maybe I'm going past there into the marina. Let's go along here and then in. And then it also records that path and it leaves it on the map. So I just have to click again, it disappears. If I wanted to draw that as a walking path like I've done here, this is a walk, the walk they call it, through the Marina District. There's a lot of murals in that area. Unfortunately, in Google Maps, when I had a look at it, we couldn't see all of them, but the map, Street View map that was there was from 5 years ago. Anyway, you can do those, and this is what it looks like on the map. It shows a little connection for the path that you've drawn. So that path tool is kind of useful. In some cases, you may want to highlight an entire area for some reason. I did that a little bit with the metro zones when I was trying to figure that out. Some of you may have seen that. And I use the same tool, but if you, let's do it down here, go around, if you end up at the point you started at, it creates a polygon which you can name. So I can see area 57, lost, save, and there's a Polygon Transparency that you can play with. So if you don't want it to be too obvious, and you can change the colors that it's using. You can change the border width if you want it to be more obvious. So it's just a way of highlighting an area. It can be useful sometimes. I don't use it too often, but I did use it for the metro zones. And then the other thing is you can put that into its own layer. So I can say add a layer. I can name it for polygons or whatever you want to call it. And you can drag it down. Sometimes, I don't know why, it doesn't always grab things when I want to move them like that, and I have to do it a second time. Anyway, so now that's in its own area, I can show it when I want to, and I can unclick it to not show it. So it can be kind of a handy little feature to highlight certain things. Like I said, don't use it too often. Most often with transit stuff where I'm trying to figure out the different zones and whatnot. And actually I'll mention that too, is as I go up here, you'll notice some of these metros that I've done I highlighted in black, and those were the stations that were the end of one of the zones. So the zone border is kind of across the water here between these two metro stations. And so this zone here goes between these two black metro stations. But somewhere in here I also have, let's get rid of this first. That was just an example, delete. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked, so let's see, we drew a path, we drew an area, showed you area transparency. Directions, I don't do that too often either. But if I highlight a location like that, this little icon here is directions to get there. So I can click on that. it pops up. If you don't notice, it pops up in the bottom left here as a new layer. And you can say, okay, where am I coming from? Let's say I'm coming from Old Town, and it'll draw driving directions to get there. You can pick walking directions or biking directions. Unfortunately, in this, you can't pick transit. So I'm going to get rid of that. Delete that layer. So I generally don't use that too often. Sometimes what I'll do though is I will, I'll take that location, I'll view in Google Maps, and I'll use Google Maps to find the transit to get there. So I'll click on directions, pick my source location that I was coming from. Let's go from the fountain area here. And Google Maps is nicer too because it gives you alternate routes and how long it would take driving. And the nice thing is you can pick transit. So you can figure out, okay, how would I get there by transit? In this case, the best one is walking to a bus stop and taking the number 28 bus and then walking from that bus stop all the way down there. If you want to reduce the walking, you could take the longer route, which is this one here. You walk up to this bus stop, and this bus goes a little bit further, hour and 6 minutes, but you got a shorter walk at the end of it. Anyway, a little bit of digression there again into Google Maps. Changing backgrounds. Oh yeah, so when we're viewing it, scroll down to the bottom, this base map thing here, click on that, and you get a whole bunch of different options for which base map is underneath it. This black border actually shows you which one is selected. That's not real obvious. Satellite map is the next one. So you can zoom in and see a little more detail of some of the neighborhoods and whatnot, which is not too bad when you're trying to figure out whether this big blank area is a park or something else. Other base maps, I think if you hover over them, they tell you what they are too. Yeah, so this is a simple atlas. That one is terrain map. This one is, I generally don't use most of these other ones. I use this one because it's a relatively simple map and a little bit darker background, so when I highlight a location, you can see the white circle that comes around it. But if I want more street information, I go back to the base one here because it actually has like more locations, restaurants, that kind of stuff. And then when I want to look at what's there, quite often we'll go to this one here. Okay, that was all I had in my list. If you have any more questions, you can always ask on the Cruise Critic post that I'm going to put this on. This will actually be a YouTube post as well, so if you're on YouTube, you can always ask me through that.